autonomous with Dabney Forestry, Mr. Milton McGrady.
John, thank you.
Then we got that box here on the edge shoulder.
Thanks, John. I appreciate that. I really wasn't expecting that kind of an introduction. And I got it. I really appreciate it. It's so moving to be standing here. You ought to be me tonight. It's just surreal that all of you are here and we're together, and so many of us spent so many hours together over the years. And, I'm really happy to be here, and we were given little assignments. Bill gave me an assignment about 3 weeks ago, and I'm going to try to fulfill what he asked me to do here for over the course of the next few minutes. Ward said that he left a student in our lab one day. Well, my students left me in Marlington one time. But I can't get off on these stories. I wish I could, but actually they had a roadblock. Some state police, they were moving some material to the pump storage station up there, and they had the roadblock. State police stopped us, and I told him that I had a road van with a van load of students on it, and they were heading towards Warm Springs, and would he stop them? And he said, I'd be glad to. So he called across the mountain and pulled them over, scared them half to death. Some of you may have been on that van, and we called up with them. But yeah, they took off. I like to keep everybody together when we were on a field trip, but that was good that day. That state trooper helped me out a lot, and I reeled them in, and they thought they were going to get in trouble for stealing the college van. I told him to tell the other trooper they'd stolen that thing. But I had a lot of days like that, and I'm going to try to take just a few minutes and explain my assignment that Billy gave me, and that is my Dabney experience. I've heard Dr. Backel say that before, and I had an experience here. A lot of people think that this is all I've done. I've had Everlack tell me that before. But I did have a life before Dabney, a little bit of a life before Dabney, and I worked for a company that, big veneer company over in West Virginia, and I'm going to get ahead of myself here a little bit. Basically, I went to work for that company out of Dabney when I graduated, and I went to school 3.5 more years. I went to AWIT Tech. I was in their employee training program, and I worked in one of the finest hardwood veneer mills in the whole world. And when I came here to Dabney, I worked with Tom Reisinger, and I could not get used to the stuff that they had at that mill for us to saw. A lot of it looked like firewood, and I'd been used to 30, 40-inch cherry and oak and poplar and maple and those kinds of things. I made a note or two here. Most of the logs we didn't harvest them. We bought them, had them hauled in. They were just extremely good quality. I also, while I was at the Dean Company, I took courses at AWIT Tech. They sent me down there for almost a year to learn these courses, which prepared me again for what I did here. But I worked on saws that were 42 feet in diameter, 13 feet wide, and they run on two 7-foot steel wheels, 100 miles an hour under hundreds of pounds of stress. Just flying around those wheels, sound like a snake hissing, and we cut those big logs. One time we sawed some species from Africa and South America. We saw beanwood, mahogany, all kinds of tropical woods like that. Some of those logs were 7 feet in diameter on the small end. And our crane was so large, you would think it would pick them up with no problem to set them up on the second floor. But they had to ratchet that crane down to pick those big logs up to set them up on that deck. So, I was away from here, but I didn't go to, I guess I went to school all my life, but I got involved in some real big deals up there and really good experiences for me to actually bring here to this little small college and put them to use. Tragically, I will say this, I wasn't going to. I hadn't been here very long, and my company, I guess, sometimes they pick people and they groom them for certain jobs. And I actually think that's maybe what was going on. And, I had a little more privileges at that company than other people may have had. And they had thought enough of me to send me to 7 hours away to school. And I came down here, and I was over here in the office one day, and my former wife, Kay, she called. And she said, boy, I got some bad news. I said, what's going on? She said, 3 of your buddies got killed in a plane crash this morning. And they were taken off at the Mercer County Airport. And I hadn't been down here very long, and I knew them all well. One of them was my counterpart in the lower end of the plant. And they were training him for jobs. And she said, boy, I think you should be glad you got that job with Dad. And so I had a lot to be thankful for. Maybe I would have been on that airplane or maybe not, but they took off and stalled that plane out before daylight went down to Big Ravine. And 2 of them got out of the pilot and co-pilot, but 3 of my buddies, they didn't. But Sandy Silvers, bless his heart. That's all I can say, and I'm going to say a little more if I can get this computer to come back off here. I worked with Sandy, and Sandy would have to speak to a group, and he and I were close. And he was old enough to be my dad. And I was, like John said, I was really blessed. We were blessed to work with him. And he would always say when he had to do something that stressed him out, he would say, loose on the outside and tight on the inside. That's the way I feel. I feel a little bit of that right now. But we learned a lot from him. But tonight I know what he meant when he said that. And I've had to do some public speaking in my career, and I never considered myself a great public speaker, but I usually get up here and get it done. But I know what he meant when he said that, and he said that quite often. Like I said, most of us here tonight has had a Dabney experience, and Billy asked me to talk to you about my experience here at Dabney, and I'm not going to tell you all I like to do it, but I want to say a few things. When I was here at Dabney, I did a number of different things. I had duties and responsibilities, and I started out as a student, but when I came back, after I worked for the veneer company, I was a technician, I was a program head, I was an instructor, and I wrote ambassador in my notes. I don't mean what you might think, but I got to go a lot of places, Craig and I, and all of us, and represent the school. And I did that. I went to Newfoundland one time and did not to do a program about Dabney, but that's what happened when I got up there. And I traveled overseas to Russia, and I did a couple of programs with Russian villagers. It was an environmental trip, and I had a Dabney hat on, a Dabney t-shirt, and somebody said, "Where's Dabney?" One of those old Russian ladies that I had in some of those classes that I taught. I don't know whether I was able to explain to her where Dabney Lancaster was or not, but I've been able, and I've been able to go all over the country and recruit and promote the forestry program over the years. By the way, I've been retired for 12 years. And I was here, I'm not sure John said, I was here, well, being a student and working here almost 40 years, I think, if I have my math right. But I was a technician, program head, instructor, and I would go places and try to be a good ambassador for the college. I was proud of what I've done. The comments I'm going to make here over the course of the next few minutes, I'm going to do my best to destroy the English language. I usually do that. But I'm going to be sincere and honest. I try to about my comments. There's a lot of fact checkers in here. My wife's one of them. Every time I tell her a tale, John, she fact checks me, and if I'm not right, I get told that. So I don't stretch the truth as much as I used to. So I'm going to try my best not to embellish my stories and give you as close to as I can. Remember, I've been here a long, long time, and I'm not as young as I used to be, and my brain don't work quite as smoothly as it used to, if it ever did. So I'm going to be as accurate as I can. I'm going to use the names, like John said, I think, of several people. I'd like to. Some of them John's already spoken about. But I'd like to mention a few people. Every person that I dealt with in my career was important to me. Every person. But I may not mention your name tonight, and if I don't want anybody to, hopefully they're not going to be offended. There's just too many. You see what's here. I don't know Scott and them. Somebody said the other day, where's Scott at? Scott, how many students has Dabney graduated over the year?
556 plus or minus is what we got.
That graduated.
This is true that they graduate. Now, how many come in? We might to double that or something. 556. That's not too shabby.
No, it's not, and that's just two students that attended, not counting the ones that we got in here that may have not made it or done something else with their lives. There was a lot of people, but I'm not trying to skip anybody's name. I just can't, I can't use everybody's name in this speech, I guess you'd say I'm going to do. So again, I'll try to be as accurate as I can. My memory is not as good as it used to be. It fails me oftentimes like my knees do. I got a knee from too many hours in the field and climbing up on the log trucks and log piles. My memory is about like my knee. It fails me when I need it the most. Well, how did I find myself in Allegheny County in 1971? Well, I got to give my mom credit for that. My mother's a career teacher. She's still alive. She's almost 92 years old. And my mother was determined I was going to college. She was determined I was going to get out of high school. And she was smart. And I wish I had her brain in my head tonight. That's how clear that lady is. She's a really smart lady, and her body is failing her, but her mind is very clear. But she was determined I was going to go to school, to college. I had a young family. I got married right out of high school. I was 18 years old when I got married. By the time I came to Dabney in 71, I graduated in 91, I had a little baby girl that I brought down here with me. And she fell in love with Mr. Benetti back there, one of those little Italians we had down here going to school from up in Pennsylvania. And, we were all friends, and my little girl really took a liking to Fred when he come over. And she's a grown woman now with her own kids. But I was a young family man. I had about a year and a half of college when I came down here. Again, my mom wanted me to go to college, and I was obliging her as best I could. What was going on then? Well, a lot of stuff was going on, similar to maybe some of the things now. There's a lot of social unrest all over the country, literally. I don't know if you've ever heard of a Mooney, but I bet Jim Ed knows but have heard of Moonies. Moonies were soliciting funds everywhere you went. So you had to deal with them when you went in a department store. every street corner, and there was a jungle war raging in Southeast Asia that was on the mind of every 18, 19-year-old in the country at that time. Well, my mother knew where DSLCC was. I did not. I had no idea where Clifton Forge was. I lived 90 miles away roughly, and I had no idea that this place even existed. I'd never been down here, and I thought I'd been everywhere by that time. So one Sunday afternoon, I found myself in Clifton Forge at her invitation. She had already set up a meeting with my counselor, and I wish I could remember his name, but Wheeler tends to come to my mind, but I'm not sure who that counselor was. But anyway, I found myself in Clifton Forge talking to a counselor. A few months later, I enrolled in the forestry program myself, living on Commercial Avenue, attending my first forestry tech classes. If you could see my high school annual, I'll tell you how gung-ho I was for this, though, you would see my photo. Not a very flattering photo of a 17-year-old guy. I never smiled. My wife asked me why I never smiled. I said, I'll guarantee you, as soon as they snapped that shot and I saw my buddies out there, we were all laughing and going down the hall having a good time. But in my senior annual, there's a photo of me. I don't know whether they do them or not, but back in that day, it had my name under there and it had ambition. Back when I was 17, I wanted to be a forest technician. A forest technician, that's what I wanted to be, and there it is in writing, in proof. You can fact check that if you can get a hold of one of mine.